Hi, everyone. I am Lori McInerney. I'm our Global SVP of Marketing here at Tacton. Thank you all for joining. Again, welcome everyone. Very excited to have you for this webinar today. It's going to be all about driving digital transformation in the manufacturing space. We are very lucky to have two incredible guests with us today. And you're going to learn all about how Atlas Copco partnered with Intershop to drive deep buying customized experiences for their customers. So to kick it off today, we have Jeff Summers. He's our Chief Commercial Officer here at Tacton. He will be moderating the session today. We've got Thomas Arthenkog. He's the VP of Digital Sales and Marketing for Atlas Copco Industrial Technique. It's really exciting. Atlas Copco has been a partner of Tacton's for over 16 years. So really excited to have this journey with them and have Thomas on with us today. And then Mauro Buffatti, he's the country sales manager at Intershop. Again, been a great partner of Tacton, and I know of Atlas Copco for many years. So again, thank you both for joining us today. We are very excited to have you. And with that, I'll kick it off to Jeff.
Excellent. Thanks, Lori. As Lori mentioned there, Atlas Copco has been a long-term client of Tacton's. In fact, they've really kind of watched us, I think, grow up as a company and evolve over that 16-year period. And so we're thrilled to have Thomas with us here today, and then also Mauro from a partnership standpoint. For those of you who may have attended the summit, our customer summit last year, or really any of our previous webinars, you know that in 2024, we did a tremendous amount of work trying to understand, how our go-to-market strategies changing within manufacturing, and in particular, industrial and complex manufacturing. And, if I had to boil that down to one theme that really kind of bubbled to the top, it was this intense focus around the buyer experience, and really kind of taking a lot of those lessons that were learned in the retail world pre-pandemic and starting to apply those in a complex manufacturing B2B type of buying process. And Atlas Copco has been really, I think, at the forefront of that. If you look across our pretty extensive customer base. So we're thrilled to have the folks with us here today, and we're going to share some of that, what the vision was, what some of the lessons learned were as they went through that process. But again, I just want to thank Thomas and Mauro both for spending some time with us here today. So with that, Yep, certainly. With that, let me turn it over to Thomas. He'll talk to you a little bit about Atlas Copco and the journey that they've been on.
All right, I'll try to be short. I think one of the things we're most proud of working at Atlas Copco is that we were founded more than 150 years ago. And being a truly multinational company with 180 countries. And I think that's what, when you look at the figures, so Industrial Technique, we're about 10,000 people. But when you spread it out over the 180 countries and multiple locations in each country, we're actually small. So we act in a pretty small way and familiar way with each other, despite being a large company. And then, of course, we're also really proud of our operating margin and that we have withheld for very, very many years. You can go to the next slide, more showing what we do. So in Industrial Technique, we're the part that works with assembly of products. And that's everything from Apple phones to cars or spaceships or wind. And we have a few different services that we have arranged in 6 divisions that support our customers. So it's service. Then we have split the general industry and the motor vehicle industry for the Atlas Copco brand. Then we have other brands in what we call Chicago Pneumatic, the Sutter division. And then we, 3 years ago, acquired a new division that we put together of a few acquisitions with this machine vision. And it's a lot around automated cells and steering robots and in the assembly process. And I guess this is Atlas Copco. As a curiosa, you could say 70% of all cars produced around the world are assembled to some extent with Atlas Copco tools. So we feel we have a footprint with most of you if you're driving.
Excellent. Excellent. And Thomas, can you talk a little bit about your channel strategy in terms of how do you go to market within each one of these business units?
Yeah, so it's a mix, I would say. We go direct and we go through distribution. And you could think about it as easy would be the sort of, the smaller customers, you go distribution. And yes, that's correct. But also for the bigger customers, we sometimes go distribution and direct together. And it's all about the sales process being different for what we call transactional purchases. When you buy things, you know what you want because you've already experienced the value, you know the price. And when you buy a project or something bigger, which is what we call transformational sales, you go into further up the ladder of advanced assembly and solutions with us. So we are a mix of direct and indirect sales, and 100% of the indirect sales is pretty much e-com, and parts of the direct sales starts to be e-com with the growth of Punch-Out.
Excellent. Excellent. And if you were to compare that channel structure today to what it was 5 years ago, how different is it today?
I say we're really, really stable at 50% distribution. It doesn't seem to change. Then you see projects growing. So we're actually now half of our business is really big projects and half is transactional. And if you look the past 5 years, the project business has grown. And then I guess the biggest difference is in how we sell through those channels. So it's not the channel mix, but how do we serve our customers? And the big difference is in the customer seeking the information by themselves and being more prepared when they interact physically with us. And also that we have moved a larger part of our business to zero touch, which is what we call the e-com solution.
Excellent. Excellent. And then as you look at some of your peers and competitors in the industry and that type of thing, what have you all noticed in terms of how go-to-market strategies are changing?
I think we all have the same ambition. And then it could be articulated in different ways. And when you build your business case, somebody builds this on that it will create growth. We create our business case when we did it some years ago around actually reducing costs to serve. And then we see the benefit in making it easier for the customers to buy from us. But I think everyone is pushing in this arena, and it's a lot driven by the customers that want to make more efficient buying process on their end. And then it's more to meet up on those demands. And if you're better at meeting up, in some ways you could create a bit of lockup or loyalty by serving in a good way. I think somebody told me once that more than 50% of the loyalty that you get in your relationship is created in the buying process. And the rest is in the experience of using your stuff and so on.
Excellent. Excellent. All right. Well, and obviously, a key partner for you as you've gone down this path of buyer centricity and making it essentially easier to do business with Atlas Copco? Obviously, Intershop has played a really key role in all of that. And as Lori mentioned earlier, we have Mauro Buffardi with us today. And Mauro, can you talk to us a little bit about Intershop?
So Atlas Intershop is a very well-kept secret on the market. So is actually one of the first e-commerce platform that was launched as such in the 90s already. And of course, a lot of things has changed since before, but we made commerce the focus of our strategy. We are amongst the biggest player. We are recognized by many partners as the most advanced B2B solution for companies. And we focus on companies on the size of Atlas Copco. We are not going for quantity. We have some selected companies that we have as a customers, and we consider them as a partner. We consider them as a business partner from our customers. And that is why it was so exciting to work with Atlas Copco for this time, because we were there at the beginning of this latest part of the journey. We were together with them in the growth, and it was real concrete realization of our mission. We are a global company. We're mostly based in Europe. I'm based in Stockholm, so I'm like 20 minutes from Thomas now. And we have a very close relationship, and we work together with our customers.
Excellent. Well, thank you for that quick overview. Let me ask you just a couple of questions. Obviously, you are in a very similar business that Tacton is in, and you keep a pretty close look or pretty close eye on the trends in manufacturing. What have you all seen as it relates to B2B buyers and that type of thing? What kind of trends have you all witnessed?
Yeah, I was so happy and so feeling at home when we were at the last Tacton event, and you were telling the same trends, because we recognize the same thing that you mentioned before. The world is becoming a more complex stage. So what we are selling and to whom we are selling is becoming complex, is becoming more complicated in the past. People has changed. So the new generation coming in and are used to a different way to interact with the companies they buy from. So it's not a catalog, choose your product from the catalog anymore, but people wants different type of contact with different fast access to the company wherever they are. So it doesn't matter if they are on the phone, on the car, on internet, on airport. They want to have full contact to the company. A different type of relation with the people. So picking up the phone now is considered like a last resource. So all this is bringing, all those dynamics has changed radically the way to sell product. So there is a need to reinvent a little bit the way to interact with the customers. And the focus is shifting, or has to shift, from being product oriented. So companies doing the best to build their product, and then if a product is good, it will sell by itself. Now there is a shift in saying, okay, we need to sell solutions to our customer. The customer doesn't really care too much of some details, but he wants his problem solved. And problem can be reaching out on the weekend, or getting this information on the fast time, or don't worry too much, or don't spend too much time in technical stuff, but having someone thinking for him. So there is a huge movement. It's slow, but is taking place. From B2C, people is expecting to have the same kind of experience in B2B.
Yeah, and interestingly, you say that some of it has been kind of slow. Obviously, in any industry, you have the early adopters of new, go-to-market strategies and technology supporting that. Then you have the fast followers that come on behind them. We still see a fair number of laggards from a manufacturing standpoint. Now, I'm sure that no one who is tuned into this is actually a laggard at this point. But what do you think the reason is for that?
Well, the great one of the reasons, the greatest enemy of civilization advance, and is we always did that in this way. What can be wrong? So there is drive to change. There is need to drive to change, and it's not so easy for company to change. The other aspect is that every company is convinced that it's completely unique, and that's the only company that's thinking in this way, and they will need a big project to do the things in their own way, and nobody can understand them. And that's something that we are fighting to. That's an argument that we are trying to dismantle. Companies,
but I also
like
think
Tacton,
it's like Mara. I also think it's like sits with the history of, if you go retail, you work at a food retailer, Walmart or whatever. You don't really have a relationship with the customer. But our previous sales channel was a relationship. So you were like tight friends, and then you're going to let go to something that is out of your control. And I think that's that mechanism of letting go is really scary. It's not a shop. It's actually an individual that will let go of his customer that he's responsible for. And all of a sudden, a lot of the interactions will be done with very limited control of this person that had 100% control before.
Yeah, but that is why it's important to focus on the right things, right? It's true to have. It's good to have a good interaction. You want to talk to understand what are the new products, what are the new trends, what can I do to make you customer happy. But maybe the boring parts you don't need to have. If you want to download a technical schema or a drawing, probably it's becoming more of a inconvenience to pick up the phone and ring the guy to get this information. So it's a fine line.
And I think for us, they will not meet their sales targets if they don't focus on the transformational sales, because we need to grow every year. We need to be more profitable every year. It's not by doing the same. Exactly.
Yep.
So
Excellent.
the driver, what brings a bit some time to change is because it's not a matter of technology that is out there ready, mature to be adopted, but each company has to find the right balance and organization and the shared vision, how to transform in the right way, not leaving anything on abandoned, but embracing the new possibilities in a balanced way.
Excellent. Yeah, it's interesting from a Tacton standpoint. I think if you look at the time that we're spending with our customers and our prospects, actually, a lot of that is spent around, how do you define the right objectives for an initiative like this, and then where do you start? And I think what we've found is that kind of this start small, grow quickly type of approach tends to be the most successful, because you're not just rolling out technology here. You are really trying to drive, I think as Thomas pointed out, you're trying to drive adoption of a new way of selling, a new type of conversation that you need, whether it's your direct sellers, your indirect sellers, or even your website, to be able to drive with these customers. So having a very kind of intentional way of phasing that change in behavior is really, really important. So just as
I think sort of, just to add to that, I think sort of, if you look at our relationship, I think it's think big, plan big, but start small. I think you sort of
I like
you'll never get there if you cannot paint the vision or sort of how will this look like 5-7 years from now. But then when you start, you need to succeed in the small steps, because it's all in the details where you fail or you succeed, and you need to fix each single piece of this on the way.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's absolutely right. So just as a quick overview of Tacton, I'm guessing most of the folks who have dialed in here, you've got at least some knowledge of who we are. But Tacton is largely considered to be kind of the #1 CPQ platform in the industry today. We've been around for about 25 years. We have worked with some of the most innovative manufacturing brands in the world. And interestingly, those range anywhere from, $100 million manufacturers all the way up to multi-billion dollar manufacturers, very similar to Atlas Copco. We are really excited that exactly, I think 2 weeks ago, Gartner published their latest Magic Quadrant for CPQ, and for the third year in a row, we are kind of the undisputed leader in that quadrant. We think that we got to that point really because we listened to our customers. And we do these types of events where we're trying to share a lot of best practices across the industry. And just based on the kind of conversations we get into, that gives us tremendous insight in terms of how to evolve the product over time. And speaking of that, I mentioned that we did a lot of work last year trying to understand, fundamentally how is go-to-market changing in manufacturing. And we kind of summarize all of that work into what we believe is the new mantra for manufacturers, which is this idea of differentiated buyer engagement. In other words, how can we differentiate not just based on our products and our solutions, but how can we differentiate based on the experience that buyer has as they go through their buying process with our company. And we really think there's 5 things that are driving this today. First of all, we know the buyers have fundamentally changed, particularly in the last 3 years. The pandemic had a profound impact on the way people buy products. And what we're seeing, not only at Tacton, but McKinsey and Accenture and a number of other people who study these types of things, people are taking the kinds of buying behaviors that they have in their personal lives and they're bringing it to the B2B procurement process. Today, we know that about 80% of that buying process occurs without any interaction with the vendor, which is kind of mind-numbing if you think about it. If you go back 3 years ago, that number was 67%. Right? So since this time, that trend has not only increased, but it's accelerated. So the buyer's changing and the buying process has fundamentally changed. Then, I think as both Tomas and Mauro both pointed out, you've seen this kind of big shift towards solution selling. So rather than selling point products, we're now selling kind of integrated systems. And then kind of the next level of sophistication that we're seeing there from a solution selling standpoint is being able to wrap those product solutions with a set of managed services. And in some cases, offering that entire package on more of a subscription model as opposed to a traditional capital expenditure model. And what's interesting about that is if you think about the kind of conversations that your channel now needs to have with your buyers, it is very, very different than what they were doing even just a few years ago. That said, in order to have that kind of a conversation, you've got to have a lot more expertise driven into each one of these interactions with the buyer. And so, as a company, being able to codify kind of that collective genius and that collective knowledge within the organization is really important. However, that's gotten harder because, as we all know, employee turnover rates within manufacturing are still pretty high. Depending on where you are in the world, the turnover rate kind of fluctuates around 40%. So the question is, how do we drive more consultative expertise into each one of these interactions when 4 out of 10 of our employees are leaving every year? Incidentally, on the sales side, for those of you who have direct sales organizations, a number of customers have said to us that they believe over the next 3+ years, they're going to completely turn over that direct sales organization, mostly through retirement, but other issues as well in terms of downsizing and consolidation with other companies and that type of thing. So it's been a real kind of top of mind issue for most of our customers. And then finally, if you kind of take those first 4 trends, what we know is that in this particular environment where the buyer has changed, the buyer process has changed, you've got to be much more agile as a go-to-market organization within your company. And really, that's a combination of bringing new products to market faster than you ever have in the past. So speed to market is increasingly important. But at the same time, what we call speed to sales is equally as critical. In other words, how fast and effectively can we enable the channel to drive these new solutions and have these conversations in the way that we want them to have those conversations. Okay, so it's the combination of those 5 major trends. And by the way, if you'd like to delve into any of these in more detail, we do workshops around these concepts all the time. Be more than happy to spend some time with you on that. But it's those 5 kind of big go-to-market trends that has really served as the foundation for Tacton from a product strategy standpoint going forward. And it's all around this idea of differentiated buyer engagement. Okay, so with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Tomas here, and he's going to kind of take us through the digital transformation journey that Atlas Copco has been on here for the last few years.
So maybe I can start. I started a little bit more than 5 years ago at Atlas Copco, and at that time they had decided that they would make it easier for customers to buy from us. And then they decided that e-com combined with CPQ would be the starting point for the journey. So we started to implement an e-com with a sort of guideline to make it easier to buy from us. And what I've heard in benchmarking with other companies was like really common at that stage. And then as we got started, that has evolved, and now you can move on. Now we are talking about doubling the sales of a salesman. So that's really the vision we are at the moment, and there plays zero touch on transactional orders, of course, a really, really big part. And then we have one touch together with a CRM system where you can quote, because not everything will be on the e-com. We understand that some of the mid-sized direct customers are not ready for punch out at this stage, and we are not frequent enough for them to buy on the e-com. So there will still be an inside sales that caters for those. You can move on, I think. And now we are at the stage where we actually implemented fully the e-com maybe 2.5 years ago. Tacton has been with us on the whole journey. There, I think we got a really big success from the start, and that was on our sockets business, where we actually, the customer could not only find our solution, they could find when they needed a socket that we didn't have. And then with that CPQ, they created directly a CAD drawing that went to our machine in Tier and could be produced as an output of the configuration made by our customers. And then we had some years where we struggled with moving into, you could say, the more solution selling on our e-com or our web. And that was because we were too engineer focused. We were so successful with this one. So we tried to continue with making a truly solution that would sort of cater for everything. And that was very much R&D driven. And then a couple of years ago, we started with more being customer focused and 80-20. In that sense, we're saying we're capturing 20% of the solutions that will fit the customer, but 80% of their needs, and the others will go to R&D or to a person that will fix that sale in the end. But all based on actually meeting the customer's demand on cost efficient buying. We talk a lot about the experience and that people want to buy as they buy by themselves privately. But I think I feel a huge trend when I visit customers now versus maybe 2 years ago, where it's a lot on the cost. And it's a lot cheaper for them to transact with us on fixed prices in an e-com solution than with having negotiations and price selections and so on. So I think we see now almost a pull from the customers from the sense of cost, from the key buyers, the director of procurement and so on. If we move on, I'm not sure if there is another. Yeah, and here you could see for an example for drilling solutions. And now we're talking about, before we sort of anticipated that you should know the speed or the size of the hole, and then you would filter and so on. And of course, that's how you could think about buying. But actually, the question people are, what are they drilling in? Is it in plastic? Is it in metal? Is it in wood? And so this is not the engineering approach of presenting the solution. This is the customer interviews and actually the investment in UX and UI. And then I would say we look at drills as maybe our most simple solution. But when you start to look at it and talk to our customers, they could before actually only buy what they already had. But now they can actually buy for new types of situations and new types of space requirements where you need to fit to, if it's on an angle or if it's with limited space to fit the handle or so on. So this has played a really big role for us lately, and we are expanding these solutions to, I would say, a big part of our portfolio.
Excellent. That's really impressive, and I really appreciate kind of the screen demo that you all put together for us here. It's really impressive in terms of kind of the ease of use, but at the same time, the ability for the customer to get very kind of specific with what their requirements are, and really tailor that solution, obviously, for what they're trying to accomplish.
And Jeff, you know what the most difficult part with this is? It's actually to get people to agree that we only have 5 materials here. But of course, there are 500 materials if you ask R&D. But if you put up the 500, no one would use it. So sort of getting those, getting that collaboration and understanding of that it's fine that we're not covering everything. That is not so easy.
Yeah. So I'm interested here in terms of, obviously you had to kind of map out what that buyer journey, or at least the desired buyer journey would be with your company. How did you guys go through that process?
We actually established, I mean, one I think that has been critical for us is that we put UX, UI, and insights, and the customer experience lead, the manager for those in our management team. So it's really the customer feedback is at the center and as power in our organization, and that way we also become more analytically driven, and it makes it a lot easier to convince your organization. And then what was the question again? Now I lost track.
Just in terms of how you mapped out the buyer journey.
Yeah, and then it is in partnership. So we take a few markets and a few customers, and then that are willing to partner up with us and spend time to design it with them. So when we're done, we know we have a few customers already changing. So they are adopting, and then it's a lot easier when you go and you choose a market that has some political power and a client that is looked at as being like a little bit of a forefront, and then you with that you actually can get the snowball rolling, and you also exclude a lot of mistakes because the sales guys, they think they know the customer, and they know the customer from the production perspective and how our solutions are used. But they have very limited knowledge on how the customer procure. So when you ask, they think they know, but they have no idea. So and that means that my team has no idea, but that means that we need to be really close with the customers when we design our solutions.
Yep. Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah. I would really like to build on what Thomas just said, because I'm peering at the questions, and there was one question connected to what we said before about how do you balance by losing control and giving away autonomy to the customer. That is a sense of often there is a sense of false control on the customer. We don't know what they are doing from their point of view. We don't know, we cannot translate into numbers the experience for the salespeople, not the whole experience, and we don't know what the customer is doing when it's not interacting with the salespeople. So there is a whole world to complement this information, and if you build a customer experience, listening to the customer, and most importantly measuring that, you have a much more thorough view of what the customer does, wants, search, even if it doesn't translate to a sale, to understand what the customer wants. So there is always a little bit of a false sense of knowledge saying, I know my product and I'm sure my customers are using it in this way. And the channel to get this feedback usually is very loose, is very personal, subjective, and a good customer experience, digital customer experience, is not a substitute, but is definitely a way to get more info and more insights on what the customer is really looking for.
I think for us, it's I mean, we have the CRM system, so that still gives them some control, and they're connected. They could see how their business evolves and so on. And we have transactional feedback if the customer is dissatisfied and things like that. But I think the change from us is to get some of the early adopter salespeople on board early on, and then to really start to measure and make available whose customers are not adopting. And then so that you can really get the top management visibility on non-performing versus performing, because this is a real scare, and you need all the muscles in the management book to create the change.
Yep. It is that observation that you have to have this 360-degree view of the buyer is incredibly valuable. But
I hate that, Jeff, because if they would have that, they would have nothing else to do than reading the tracks of their customer. So it's not, no one should have a 360-degree view of their customer. They should know what is critical for them to know, and all the other stuff they should just leave, and we should make sure we align on what is it that you really need to know, and that. But why should they see the visual tracks of their customer on our web when they're buying, or we will sort that they handle the basket. So 360, no. Selective knowledge, yes.
Yes. No, I'm just talking about in terms of kind of when you're defining that ideal customer journey. To your point, right? Salespeople have a very limited view of what that is. And so you've got to get input from a lot of different sources in order to figure out what that buyer journey really.
Yeah,
really
but you know, we have so much struggle with this 360, and they wanted to sort of, I want to know everything about my customer. I sort of, no, you don't. And,
yeah.
to sort of win that battle has not been easy.
Sure. Excellent. Okay. Well, yeah, I think that's kind of a good transition here to talk about some of the real kind of tangible results that you saw from that. Do you want to kind of walk through what some of those were?
Yeah, I think that the most important one for us is actually cost, and that's how it's cost for us and it's cost for the customers, and it could be things like approvals, it's things like buying the wrong thing. Buying the wrong thing in B2B, it's not like in B2C where you return it and you get the money back. I mean, in B2B, you buy it and then you eat it. If you don't like it, it doesn't fit. I mean, sometimes we take it back because of the relationship as like a really tedious process, cost a lot of money for the customer, cost a lot of money for us. And I think one of the biggest trends I've seen is, and I think it comes from China, and it's in the car business, but the cost level now, the cost pressure is tremendous everywhere. And it's also on our customers' procurement. And they have less people. It needs to be totally seamless. And before, like if you take India, they would say, we always negotiate. There's no idea with a price list. They are all going for a price list now. And that's when you can really see the benefits of e-com. And then, of course, for us, it's to free up time for the sales guys to spend on transforming our customers, to spend on where it really means something. And then I think seamless digital buying experience. Of course, we measure our NPS and that they're happy. I'm really happy with our e-com, by the way, because we have like 4.6 out of 5. On our web, we have 3.3. So there we're a lagger, and we need to improve on our self-serve. But on actual e-com, it's really, really high customer experience. But I think the biggest benefit when it comes to the growth is that by having our e-com is logged in or logged out. But if you're logged out, it's still on the web. So all the information, all the knowledge, and also all the traffic is created. So we have actually seen quite a boost in digital induced sales and new customers from digital marketing that is coming from our improved efforts on our e-com.
Mm-hmm.
And CPQ for that. For me, e-com and CPQ it's the same. I mean, I'm like a customer. It's part of our solution. And then we have a PIM as well, and we have there's lots of stuff in it.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Well, yeah, and that's an interesting kind of segue into some of the lessons learned here. And I think, whenever we do one of these sessions, I think this tends to be one of the most valuable parts of the discussion. But as you went through this process, what were some things that surprised you along the way?
One thing is the sort of when you come, there's always some other solutions that they're using. Maybe it's an Excel or and then how much functionality and differentiation that is brought into those unique ways of doing things in the markets. And we were, I think in the beginning, we were over-promising a bit when we were going to deliver. This will solve all the stuff you already have today, but it won't. And that, I think, is a key lesson, not to over-promise what your solution will do for your salespeople or customers, or especially internally now, because that's, I think the hurdle is not with the customers, the hurdle is internally. And it's about the change management, and I think there. We finalized our business case on the e-com rollout globally. We have like 5 brands. I don't know, not all 180 countries, but I'm pretty sure like 140 countries or something like that. And when you finalize your business case, you're not done. So you need to make sure that you have a long-term vision and that you can continue to adapt your solution. And of course, it will be at a lower level of spend, but it's not only maintenance and bugs going forward. It is also, you need to continuously have a process where you can improve the solution, where it creates even further value. And I think one example now for us is the personalization and making it, I mean, of course, it's personal from the way you see your own prices, you see your own quotes, where is it delivered, or where is it on the way, what I bought, and that's all personal. But actually, when it comes to personalization, it is in this logged in channel, and our e-com is becoming our portal, you can say, or omni-channel, or one web, or there are many ways in this. And I think personalization in B2B is not based on your URL you're coming from, or it's actually in logged in. And there you want to show who's your service person and the phone number, who's your sales guy, what's your installed base, do you have data-driven services, are there any alerts, what's your maintenance contract, what's contract is going out, and I think we're just in the start of that journey, but just an example that it's not doing something and then you're done. Then everyone will run away from you again, and you'll be a lagger again.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would like to agree with what Thomas said, and on a broader perspective, not just in Atlas Copco. Actually, fortunately, in a reduced way, Atlas Copco is more critical in other companies. The common sharing of ideals, the common share of purpose of all the different departments of a company to work together. So forget they were built to be specialized in its own service, customer support, engineering, sales, marketing, everyone doing their own stuff. It is difficult to renounce this autonomy and be together with all the other departments to listen to the change, to see the things from the customer point of view, and be supportive to other parts of to other departments. It is a bit of the change in the dynamics of internal power and collaboration, and it's all very. It is to admit to be wrong sometimes. It is to accept the risk to experiment. So there is a cultural shift in this, and that's fortunately the general trend that we're seeing. There is effort in companies to go there. Thank you for bringing up this schema about the customer life cycle. The way we see it at Intershop, what is actually very common is that along the life of a customer, that starts with a need, trying to find what company solved this problem, researching on the products, what kind of products does this company have for me? For this specific product, what exact variant and combination do I need? What purchase experience do I have? How do I commission the product? So how do we prepare for the delivery, the payment, the training, the environment, how to use the product? So IoT measuring how it's performing, how do you maintain it and keep it up? So we see that if there is a good experience in those steps, this generate a positive feedback loop where a customer will be definitely more pushed to keep buying from the same from a company that can keep this experience. And what we see is that historically those bits of the puzzle are very independent from each other. Many of our prospects we contact, they have one IoT portal, they have one portal for spare parts, they have one marketing-driven corporate website, they have one catalog and maybe an offline or online CPQ. and then you buy, and then the online disappears, and you've got other channels where you get invoice training. That's not enough anymore. The customer doesn't care to know to whom they need to call, or what website, or where the credentials are. They want a unique experience. It should shift seamlessly. And I'm really, really proud of what Atlas Copco has built with our partial contribution and our collaboration, in that, yeah, Atlas Copco, you land on the website, you know about the company, then you shift seamlessly in understanding what offering they have. You can configure your own specific tool for your own specific needs, and then you purchase it. And then on the same website, you have the spare parts. You have one unique experience. As Thomas was saying, there are steps to be done. Personalization is getting better. Is becoming more and more important now that the cycle has been built. But it's important to give this unified experience. And when you go to personalization, you were very right, Thomas. What is actually relevant for me, Mauro, that I'm connecting to the website, it's not just my company, what's me. With the traditional technology or the traditional channels, there is no capacity. You cannot have, if you have 5,000 user from your customer, you cannot have 5,000 sales person knowing and interacting. So you need to collect this. You need to scale with technology to help you serve personally those people.
Excellent. Thanks, Mauro. Well, I think we've got a couple of minutes here for some questions, which is why Lori McInerney has rejoined the cast here.
Hi, everyone. Yes, we have a few questions. I'd love to get through a couple of them before the end of this. Thomas, first one is for you. In your configuration rules, is there consideration for application restricted attributes, such as the atmosphere in which a given tool is operated, stuff like that?
I'm not sure I understood the question.
Yeah, Lori, I think that one may have been more geared towards Tacton. But
I asked for Thomas, but anybody can answer it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Can I try?
Sure,
can I
ahead.
try to? So I'm connected to what Thomas said before. There are millions of different attributes and specs that you can put into the configuration model. As Thomas was mentioning, you don't have 5 materials. You have 500 materials to choose from. Do not let this become an enemy of doing anything. There is complexity, but you need to find the affordable balance to get to sell the product. And
I think it's not affordable, Mauro. It's actually the time the customer is ready to use it. Otherwise, you'll have 100% dropouts. And that's what, and maybe they will use it one time to learn, but then they will look at what they bought last time, and they'll just take it from a Word document. So it needs to be in tune with the customer time.
And anyhow, that's not a complete cold detached process. I mean, when you configure the basic part, if you know that you need to run in special atmosphere or you have a special condition, you have already defined maybe 70% of your needs online by yourself. And then you can request a quote and you can add information, you can call. But now your salespeople is working on added value. Is not working on choosing between plastic and wood. Is working for using his knowledge to bring on a special sales. So it's not or digital or human. It's a mixture of the two, but leave the boring parts to the machines.
Okay. Great. I've got another one that I think really both of you could answer, all of us. What are some best practices for manufacturers looking to integrate CPQ-driven product customization within their e-commerce checkout process? Anything to share there?
And I think it's sort of what we are doing is that we highlight it as an option. And I think it's not, I don't know, for us, we cannot force everyone into it, because a lot of people are knowing exactly what they want to buy, and they want to just sort and click. So we see we have a mix of usage. So we offer it at the same place as we offer that you can select an item and add it to basket. You could also configure a solution if you want, and then depending on what. But what I think is the most difficult for us is to make that option visible with, as you saw, just a banner. How do you? I mean, we have a lot of usage, but I'm pretty sure we're missing a lot of users that would feel that this would be really good, and are then instead taking a more tedious process of selecting themselves.
But I love your approach, Thomas, to start, as you also said in the beginning, aim big, but start small. So add one category at a time, focus, experiment, measure, and expand. So CPQ is one way of selling, catalog is another way of selling, there are different way of selling, but start with the most obvious, with the most obvious pain points, or with the most easy use case, and then build on that, learning from experience. So it's really enriching. You don't need to model all your catalog in once and go live and expect that all users will use CPQ, or the same way that you can't expect all users use e-commerce from day one. It is a process.
That's great. Thank you both. Okay, one, maybe two more, but one for Thomas. This has come up a couple times, right? Seeing there's a lot of change management issues in manufacturing. Can you talk about the need for needing both Tacton and Intershop to kind of get to where you've gotten?
For me, it's really easy, but it started as maybe a more complex, where it says, I mean, Intershop is not sending a capability of sending the CAD drawings of a design of a new item to our CSD machine that will produce it. So there's sort of there is complexities that are better handled with Tacton, and there is other things that are just normal search or filtering that is out of the box of Intershop, or upload. We have a lot of customers that just uploads their list of what they want to buy. They have a file, they upload it, and then it goes into the basket, and they press buy. So I think for us to really meet our ambition that more complex solutions today will be transactional tomorrow, and in that the filtering and the search is not enough, and that's where we need Tacton to make sure that we can always load our salespeople with new stuff. But then we need to take off, and that means that what was complex yesterday needs to be easy today.
That's great. That's great. Thank you so much, Thomas, for answering that. Okay, we are at time, so just to be conscious of time to everybody, there are a few other questions that we will make sure we answer and send to everyone post the webinar. Again, thank you both so much for being here and being our guest. This was incredible. Thank you, Jeff, for moderating.
Thanks everyone for listening.
And again, we'll follow up with everybody. We'll follow up on the questions. We'll send out the on-demand asset to everybody, so you'll have a recording of the webinar. But thank you, everyone, for joining.
Thanks to you.
Thank you.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Bye.
Bye.